Very warm welcome to all of you. Good morning, everyone. So this course is about Linux administration. So before I start the session, let us just briefly discuss about what is your idea about the what is Linux. So any idea, anyone? So when I'm asking you the question, please use the chat box to reply. Don't unmute your mic. So yes, what is Linux? Why you want to do this course? So this course about is Linux administration, which will be about like 32 days to 34 days. Yes, the fee will be about 5,000. Yes, the session will be there every day except on Sunday. In some rare cases, if it is due to some any work or emergency, we'll inform you. Okay, fine. Yes, I got one answer from the Vinit. Very nice. So this is the most appropriate answer one can expect. Linux is an open source operating system. Most of the time, people will say Linux is an just they will say I heard many answers saying like Linux is an command-based operating system, which is completely wrong. So the term related with the Linux is an open source operating system. Very nice. This is the best and appropriate simple answer we can have. Very nice, Vinit. So I hope everybody knows what is operating system. Yes, operating system. Everybody knows. We'll be discussing anyhow. And what is open source? What is open source? That also we'll discuss. So don't worry about that. So before I start the today session, first I'll go through the topics. What are the topics which we are going to discuss through this Linux course, and then why this course you should do. You can decide. Okay. So our today is our first day. So I'll first go through the topics which we are going to discuss or will be covering these topics through this Linux administration course. Okay. So uh, once you make the payment, I'll be sending you 3 files. So this file is there. In that I have written all the practical steps from first day to last day, including the link of the operating system and the VMware. So this is the file I'll be sharing with you. Complete all the practical steps. Along with this file, I have two more files. That also I'll be sharing. So this course is completely designed or based on the RHS syllabus, RSCSS syllabus. Even RSCS is some topics, not full topic. So when you want to work like a Linux system administrator, this course is more than enough. And if you have a gap up to 2 to 3 years, easily you can cover. So I'm telling you frankly, you can cover up to maximum 2 to 3 years, not more than that. Because after 3 years, you will be expected to do deals with the uh, troubleshooting, scripting, all those. So that we are not going to discuss. So this course is basically designed on the RSCSS syllabus, and this is the foundation course. And when you want to work like administrator, level 1, this is the best course. You can do it. And this is a foundation course to do any higher courses, whether you want to work on the AWS or the DevOps. Without Linux, you cannot understand anything. You can ask anybody who is working on the Linux platform. Okay. So this is the foundation course. Once you understand this, then your next goal should be about the cloud. So let us briefly give you the topics which we are going to cover through this Linux administration course, which is based on the RHCSS syllabus. So these are the topics content which we are going to discuss. I'll give the brief idea. So this course, Linux administration course, which will help us to, once you're done with this course, you will be eligible to work like a Linux system administrator. So this course can be done by anybody from any stream, any background, because first question they will ask, mostly the people, I don't know much about the coding or the programming language. Can I do? Yes. So generally the people who are not good or they don't feel comfortable with the a programming language, they generally come to this administration site. Okay, so for this course, you don't have to know anything about the programming languages. And if you are from any background, maybe a commerce or engineering is better. But if you are even from the commerce background or any other stream, you can do this course very easily. And the course is designed in such a way that first we will be focusing the uh, on the foundations or fundamental things. So if you go to the RSCA Prometic Center, they will just teach you about the RSCSA content, but they will not guide you properly. So to make sure that if you are a beginner also, and if you are having gap also, you can easily understand this course. For that purpose, we have divided this course into two parts: standalone administration part and network administration part. So in the standalone administration part, we will be focusing first on the introduction of Linux. So what is Linux? We will start from tomorrow, because today I'll go through only the topics which we are going to cover. So tomorrow we'll start with the introduction of Linux. So if you want to understand the Linux, you need to understand the structure of the Linux operating system. Where exactly what data will be stored. Like most of us familiar with Windows structure. So when you install the Windows, it get installed on C drive. C drive contain some folders like program file which contain installed application. User data will be there in user. Like that, you have some basic idea. But most of the people who join this course will not have much idea about the Linux operating system. So what we have done, first week completely we'll discuss about first class introduction of Linux, like what is Linux, who designed it, what are the features of Linux. Then we will go to the structure of the Linux OS. So now you might be, uh, because now everybody is comfortable with the online session. So the benefit with the online session is that you will be getting the recording session every day. Apart from that, I'll be sending you 3 files. One file, practical step file, one theory part related with the standalone topic, one theory part uh, related with the network admin topic. So you don't have to write anything. Everything ready-made I'm giving you. Okay. So now coming to the introduction part. In that we will be discussing what is Linux, who designed it, and it is developed by whom. So these things we'll discuss in tomorrow session. Then day after tomorrow, we'll be discussing about the structure of the Linux operating system, where exactly what data will be stored. Because if you want to work on the Linux operating system, you should know its structure. So like I told you, when we install the Windows OS, generally it get installed on C drive. But what about Linux? Where it will get installed? So in Linux, there is no drive letter. Here the OS will get installed on the directory. That directory is called slash directory. So that we will see next day after tomorrow, the structure of the Linux OS. So in that we will be discussing where exactly what data will be stored, where when we install the application, where it will be stored in Linux, when the users write the data, where it will be stored, what is the name of the administrator in Linux. Anybody knows? Just I want to know the administrator name in Linux is what? If you know the answer, please use the chat box. I think some people have joined just now. So myself is Suneel Singh. I'll be taking your Linux administration course. Yes, very nice, Eunice. So it means you are already aware about something about the Linux. Very nice. So please remember, those who are already aware, very good. Those who don't know, please remember. In Linux, the administrator name is called as root. Yes, very nice. So root is the name given to the administrator account in Linux. So we will be discussing when the root login, where the data will be stored, when the user create the data, where it will be stored. All these fundamental things we'll discuss in the structure of the Linux OS. Then after that, we will see the installation of the Linux OS. After that, we'll move to the installation of the Linux OS. So in the installation of the Linux OS, we will be focusing on uh, like the Linux OS will be installed not directly on our OS without disturbing our laptop or the desktop. We will install the VMware. I'll be giving you the VMware link and we'll be installing the OS, Linux OS. So we are going to work on RHEL 7 using the CentOS 7. Okay. So exactly same thing will work on the RHEL 8 also. So I have the link. I'll give you the ISO image link of the RHEL CentOS 7. Okay. If you want, you can just check the RHEL 8 also. Same, exactly same thing work. I already checked. But most of the servers in the world, they are working on Linux. It is a fact. Most of the today servers in the world are working on Linux servers. So there is a good demand for the people who are aware about the Linux. So this course will help you to work like a system administrator, and it can cover the gap easily up to 2 to 3 years maximum. And this course is designed using the RSCSA syllabus. Okay. So I told you those who joined little bit late, I'm just going through the what are the topic or content which we are going to discuss through this Linux administration course, which will be about 32 to 34 days. We will have session every day except on normally on Sunday. On Saturday also it will be there. In rare cases, if any work is there, we will inform you. Okay. So this course is divided into two parts, standalone and network administration part. So in the standalone topics, first we will discuss about what is Linux, who designed, what are its features. Then we'll go to the structure of the Linux OS, where exactly what data is stored. Then after that, we will be discussing how to install the Linux OS using the VMware so that we will not disturb our laptop or the desktop. After that, we'll begin with the basic commands. After that, we'll begin with the basic commands. So here I have written simple basic commands, but we will be discussing the basic commands about 3 to 4 days, only basic commands, because our intention is that when you are good in the foundation, then the coming days sessions, as we go into the depth, it will be easier for you to understand. So what are the things which we are going to cover in basic commands? Starting with how to open the terminal, how we can check our working directory, how we can create or how we can so we'll be discussing how to create the file using cat command, touch and vi editor, all the three commands. Then after that, we will be discussing in basic commands how to modify the file using vi editor. After that, we'll see how to copy the files, and also we will be discussing how to create a directory. So once we know how to create the files and directory, single, multiple, parental directory, then we will discuss how to copy the files and directory. Then after that, we should know how to remove the files and directory. Then after that, we will be focusing on absolute path and relative path. After that, we will be discussing about absolute path and relative path. Then after that, we will be focusing on, in the basic commands itself, we'll be focusing on how to create the soft link and hard link. So you should be aware about this soft and hard link. So that also we are going to discuss. Once we know how to create the files and directory, so we'll be discussing how to create the soft link and hard link. So after that, now in every interview questions, you will be asked about the booting process. So as an administrator, we should be knowing, once we switch on the machine or power on the machine, do you get immediate login in our normal desktop? No, it will take few seconds. So in the background, what happens? Booting process will take place. Booting means loading of the OS. Booting process means loading of the OS from the where our OS will be installed. When we install the OS, where it will be stored? On the storage device, secondary storage device, that is hard disk. So when we power on the machine or when we power on the system, till we get the login screen, in the background booting process takes place. So we'll be discussing completely one day, or if possible, if you did not understand, we'll do the second day also, booting process. 1 to 2 days, we'll discuss about the booting process, how the OS will load it in Linux, what are the different stages. So loading of the OS from secondary storage device to primary storage device, that is called as booting process. So primary device is what? Primary storage device is RAM. From the hard disk to RAM, the OS should be loaded. Yes, Vinit. So this process is called booting process. After that, we will be discussing the run levels. So in each run level, specific task will be done. So we have about like 6 run levels. So we'll be discussing run level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What happens in each run level. So this is all the things which we are going to consider as a fundamentals or the basic things about the Linux administration. Basics, all fundamental things. So once we understand this, for this it will take about more than 1 week. Approximately like 10 to 11 days it will take. After that, we will start the administration part. So as a administrator, your routine work include creation of the user account. So suppose your company today conducted some interview and appointed some people as their employees. So can the employees create their own account by themselves? No. Who has to create it? Administrator. So as an administrator, how we will create the user account? Yes, we'll be discussing that in user administration, how to create the user account, how to assign the password, how to what are the different methods through which the user can log in. So where the user information will be stored, that is called user database file, etc passwd and shadow. So as for the requirement, how we can change the etc passwd and shadow file. So these things we will be discussing in user administration. After that, we'll move to the group administration. So group means it is a collection of users. So why the group will be created? So whenever we want to assign same permission to multiple users, we need to create a group. Like if you have to send the same message to many people or multiple persons. So if you do individually one time or to one user at one time, it will take a lot of time. So what you will do, you will create a group, add all the users into the group, then send the message on the group. So all the users who are in that group will get the message. So how many times you have to do the task? Only one. Exactly same concept is used in the company. When there are many employees, out of many employees, like 100 employees, out of that 100 employees, 50 employees should get on a particular file or directory same permission. So do you do 50 times one by one to those users? No, you will create one group, add 50 users into the group, apply the permission on the group. So in the group administration, we'll be discussing how to create a group, how to add single user, how to add multiple users into the group before we apply the permission. Then we'll be discussing in group administration where exactly the group information will be stored. That is called group database file, etc group and etc shadow. How to change those file parameters we'll discuss in group administration. Then after that, we will move to the permission. So how you will control and manage all the users and group with the help of the with the help of the with the help of the permission. So in Linux, we have 3 types of permission policies. They are called basic file permission, access control list, and advanced file permission. So all the 3 we are going to discuss. All the 3 permission policies we are going to discuss. So permission is basically used by the administrator to provide the security to the data as well as share the data among the employees. So that can be done by using permission policies. So we have about 3 types of permission policies. They are called basic file permission, uh, advanced file permission, and access control list. Again, in the advanced file permission, we have 3 types of permission. They are called set UID. Set UID means set UID, then set the GID and sticky bit in advanced file permission. Again, 3 types of permission. setting the UID, setting the GID, and sticky bit. So all these three things we'll discuss in the file permission. After that, we will move to the disk quota, disk management, second part. So in that, we will be discussing how to create a partition, because as administrator, to manage your hard disk, you should know how to create a partition. So we'll be discussing how to create a partition and how to provide the space to the user. So if any user is wasting the space, we can allocate them some limited space to prevent the wastage of hard disk space. That is called disk quota. Then there is a logical memory also in Linux, which is called swap memory, which will help the system performance. So we'll be discussing how we can improve or increase the swap partition space, which we have to give at the time of installation. So you have to remember that Windows OS can be installed on a single drive, but Linux OS can be installed on multiple partition. So the Linux OS installation will be done on multiple partition. Because of that, Linux OS is more safe and secure. That is the reason most of the servers are working on Linux. So one of the partition we have to create at the time of installation is swap, which will improve the system performance. And whenever we want to increase further the swap size, we can increase. That we will discuss in swap partition. Then we will be also discussing about LVM, very important concept in Linux, logical volume management. So LVM is a process through which we can combine the multiple hard disk or multiple partition space into a single storage space, through which we can do the resizing, of our file system space. So that we will be going to discuss in LVM. So I repeat, LVM is a process of combining the multiple hard disk space into a single storage space, through which we can do the resizing of our file system space. After that, we will be also discussing the RAID, software RAID, which consists of different RAID level like RAID level 0, 1, 5. So which one is best? RAID level 5. So we will be discussing how to configure the RAID level 5. Then after that, we will be discussing like as an administrator, we need to monitor our server. So to monitor our server, we'll be discussing the process management, how to monitor our server under the process management topic. So in that, we will be discussing two commands, process status ps command and top command, which is commonly used in Linux to monitor or to observe our servers. What are the tasks running? We can view them, or we can able to observe them with the help of the process status command and top command. So these two commands we are going to discuss under process management. After that, as an administrator, these are our routine job. All these things we have to do as an administrator. One of the important job is we need to make sure the company data is never lost. So to prevent the company data, to prevent the data loss of the company, what we have to do as an administrator, we have to take the backup. So we will be discussing the most important commands which are used in Linux to take the backups are tar command, dump command. So we'll be discussing first about how to take the backup, normal backup and compressed backup, how to compress the data while taking the backup using the gunzip tool to save the hard disk space. That also we'll discuss. Then everyday users data backup will be taken with the help of the dump command. Yes, in the dump command, again, we'll take full backup, incremental backup and differential. So these things we'll be discussing in backup and restore. Then finally, we'll come to the last topic in the standalone, that is automation job. Auto scheduling means, suppose you want to create a file, you want to take a backup at a particular time. So you can just write the scheduling job, that is called. So at so and so time, so and so user or so and so file or so and so backup should take place. So that is called scheduling job or automation job. So that can be done by using two commands, AT and cron tab. So we'll be discussing both the command using the AT and cron tab, how we can schedule our job, automation job or scheduling job. by using the two commands AT and the cron tab. So with this, we will be finishing the standalone topic in the Linux administration course. After that, we will move to the second part of our course, which is called network administration. So in the network administration part, we will begin with how to assign the IP address, static IP address, how to set some name to our machine. That is called configuration of Linux OS. Okay, so how we can uh, set that some name to our machine, how we can check the IP address after assigning the IP. Those fundamental things we'll discuss. And then after that, we will be discussing if you want to configure any server, we have to know how to install the application. So we'll be discussing how to install the application using RPM and yum, because in Red Hat, all the applications will be there with .rpm extension. So to install the .rpm application, we'll be using RPM and yum commands. So we'll be discussing both the commands, how to install the application, .rpm application using RPM and yum. So once we know these two commands, you can clearly understand the difference between RPM and yum. Okay, then while using the yum command, we have to configure yum server. That also we will see. Then after that, as an administrator, our job is what? We need to make sure the company data is shared among the authorized employees. So that we can do by configuring the servers for sharing purpose. So in Linux, there are 3 servers used for sharing of the data. All the 3 servers we are going to discuss. So we'll be discussing how to configure FTP server, NFS server, and Samba server. So these 3 servers are used for sharing of the data. So once we discuss these 3 servers, you will be knowing the difference between FTP, NFS, and Samba. Today I'll just give the overview. So I'm just giving you what are the topics which we are going to discuss through this Linux administration course. Okay. So first we'll discuss how to configure the FTP server through which we can share or transfer using the uploading and downloading or share any type of file on any OS. FTP main advantage, we can share any type of file on any OS. But the limitation with the FTP is we cannot share directly the directory. If it is a directory is there, you have to compress it, make it into file, then you can share it. But directly directory or folder you cannot share with the FTP. So FTP can be used to share the file, any type of file on any OS. But limitation in FTP, we cannot share the folder or directory with FTP. So then we can go for the NFS, network file system. Through that, we can share both files and directory with the NFS. But in the NFS, we can share files and directory, but only on Linux to Linux OS. FTP on any OS, but NFS only on Linux platform. Like in Windows, we have share folder. So similar to like share folder, in Linux, we have NFS, through which we can do the sharing of files and directory. Then after that, we will be discussing the Samba server. So suppose your company server is on Linux and your clients are using Windows. Now I want to share both files and directory. Can I use the FTP? No. Can I use the NFS? No. So in that scenario, we have to use what? Samba server. So we'll be discussing how to configure the Samba server through which the sharing of the data from Linux to Linux, Linux to Windows, Windows to Linux can be done. So this is very important server through which we can do the sharing of data on different OS, both files and directory. This is the difference. Then after that, we'll be discussing how to configure DNS server, which will resolve the name into IP and IP to name, which is used in accessing the website by name or accessing the server by name. So once we configure the DNS, we'll be discussing how to configure the Apache web server through which our website can be hosted. So when the website is hosted, how the user will access the website? By name. For that, the website entry should be given in the DNS. So that we will be discussing Apache web server, how to host the website using the Apache web server. Most of the servers in the world who are working, or most of the websites which have been hosted in the world are hosted using the Apache web server. So that we will be discussing. And then we will be discussing in the any company you will have many clients, many machines. So who can assign the IP? Only administrator. So if you are an administrator, Will you go to each and every machine and assign the IP? No. What you will do? You have to configure one server. Which server? DHCP server. So in one of the machine, if you configure DHCP server, it will assign the IP address dynamically or automatically to all the client. For that, as the administrator, we have to configure DHCP server. That also we will be discussing how to configure DHCP server through which it will assign the IP to all our clients machine. Then we will be discussing how to take the remote desktop using telnet service, which nowadays nobody is using, but in our syllabus we have kept so that you can know. Now mostly we are using which service to take the remote desktop? SSH. So telnet is not secure. Now SSH is used. So we'll be discussing how to take the remote desktop using telnet and SSH. And to copy the data from one machine to another, we have to use SCP. So these are the total content which we are going to discuss through this Linux administration course. So this is the overview I have given you about what are the topics which we are going to cover through this Linux administration course. So I hope you got some idea now. Course duration, I said it will take roughly about 32 days to 34 days, sometime 35 days. And the course fees is 5,000 rupees. Okay, so this is our first day. I gave you the introduction about what are the topics which we are going to cover. So tomorrow we'll start with the introduction of Linux. What is Linux? Who designed it? What are its features? Next day, structure of OS. Then after that, installation. Then we'll move to the basic commands. Okay. So now, before I wind up the session, whatever questions, whatever doubts you have, you can ask now. You can use chat box or you can unmute your mic. Yes. Yes, anyone, any questions, any doubt, you can ask or write it in the chat box. Yes, any questions, anyone? Any doubt? Or can I wind up the session? Okay, you can ask Vinit. You want to ask or you want to write? It is your choice. Yes, every day the sessions will be recorded and it will be sent to you on a daily basis. Yes.
Yeah, hello sir. I have a question.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. I want to learn in the future like AWS in cloud or like a Kubernetes and Docker. This course is helpful for
So
this.
that's what, yes, that's what I said when I started the course. I think you were there initially and
Yes,
you
sir.
gave that Linux is open source. Yes. You can ask anybody who is working on the cloud without Linux, can I able to work on AWS or the DevOps? You cannot. You'll never understand. So once you, this is your
Okay.
foundation course. Once you are good with the Linux, you can easily understand the AWS and then next technology DevOps. For that, this is a foundation.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you.
See, Vinit, I think for 10 years, it's will be now, if you are on the Linux platform, compulsory you should be knowing this level 1, level 2. Level 2 means troubleshooting, Troubleshooting, nobody can teach you. They can give just some example, but you have to manage. Scripting you should know. Then after that, it is good if you know the shell scripting, or otherwise you can, suppose if you good with the some new emerging technology, then you can cover like AWS or the DevOps. Just only with the Linux 10 years means difficult. So you have to add in your compulsory this shell scripting, Linux, and the cloud technologies. So if you learn up to like Azure and also the DevOps, you can easily cover. Okay, any other questions, any other doubt, or can I wind up the session? See, yes, Durga Prasad, I have seen your question. This course is useful for AIX. See, now the Linux we'll be discussing tomorrow. Linux is designed from Unix. So if you are good with the Unix, you can easily work on Linux. So like Windows is designed from DOS. Now nobody is using mostly the Unix. There might be some servers in the IBM, because IBM uses AIX, their own version of the Unix. So if you are good with the Linux, you can work on Unix. It is interrelated. Linux is designed using Unix, but now nobody is using the Unix. If already some servers, some companies are using, so if for that, nobody is teaching you Unix now separately. So if you're good with Linux, you can work on that. So there are so many flavors. You cannot learn all flavor. If you're good in one flavor, you can work on the other flavor, because the structure, the concept will be same. So some commands will be same, some will not match. So you have to Google it. That's how the people are working, because one person cannot learn all flavor. I hope I answered your question, Durga Prasad. Okay. Okay. So that's it. Are any queries, anybody? So if there is no queries, no question, can I close the session for today? So please join tomorrow. We'll see the introduction of Linux. In that, we'll see what is Linux, who designed it, who developed it. Okay. Slowly we'll move. Then the structure next day, then the installation. After that, we'll start the basic. So first 2-3 days, you will not have lab. After that, you will start the lab. Okay. So I hope everybody okay with that session. So can I wind up the session? No questions, no queries. Okay, thank you all of you. See you tomorrow. I'm closing this session.